echoes in the void. Commander Elena Vasquez had seen her share of empty space, but Sector Delta 7 felt different. The darkness here seemed heavier, as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. Her exploration vessel, the Meridian, cut through the void with its sensors sweeping for anything worth cataloging. Another day, another empty patch of nothing, muttered her science officer, Dr. James Park, as he monitored the long-range scanners. 3 weeks out here, and we've found exactly 0 signs of intelligent life. Elena adjusted her position in the captain's chair, watching the star charts scroll across her displays. The Meridian was part of humanity's third wave of deep space exploration, pushing further into the galactic arm than any human had gone before. Their mission was simple: map, catalog, and report back to Earth Command. Wait, Dr. Park's voice suddenly sharpened. Commander, I'm picking up something strange. Energy signatures, but they're faint, almost like echoes. Elena leaned forward. Echoes of what? I don't know. The patterns are complex, too organized to be natural phenomena. But there's nothing on visual or standard sensors. He paused, running the data through various filters. It's as if something massive is out there, but invisible. The ship's AI, Aria, chimed in with her synthesized voice. Commander, I concur with Dr. Park's assessment. The energy signatures suggest artificial origin, but I cannot identify their source. Recommend investigation. Elena felt the familiar tingle of discovery, the same sensation that had driven her to join the Exploration Corps 15 years ago. Helm, set course for those coordinates. Let's see what's hiding out there. As the Meridian approached the source of the mysterious signals, Elena noticed something unsettling. The closer they got, the more the readings intensified, yet their screens remained stubbornly empty. It was like chasing ghosts in the machine. Commander, called out Lieutenant Sarah Kim from the communications station. I'm detecting what sounds like ... whispers. Very faint, on multiple frequencies. Whispers. Elena moved to Kim's station. Let me hear them. The bridge fell silent as Kim amplified the signals. Through the static came something that made Elena's blood run cold. Voices, human voices, speaking in languages both familiar and ancient. Words in English, Mandarin, Spanish, Arabic, all layered together in a ghostly chorus. Aria, can you translate any of this? Working, Commander. The linguistic patterns are consistent with Earth languages from approximately 800 years ago. However, the content appears to be ... waiting. Waiting for what? Before Aria could respond, space itself seemed to shimmer ahead of them, like heat. Waves rising from hot pavement. Reality bent and twisted until suddenly, where there had been nothing, there was everything. Ships, thousands upon thousands of ships materialized before them, stretching as far as their sensors could reach. Massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything in the current human fleet. Sleek destroyers with designs that seemed both ancient and impossibly advanced, and carriers that could house entire cities. Mother of God, whispered Dr. Park, there must be 50,000 vessels out there. Elena stared at the impossible sight. The ships were clearly human in design, but their technology was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Energy readings suggested power sources that shouldn't exist, and the stealth systems that had hidden them were beyond current human capability. Commander Aria announced, I'm receiving a transmission. It's an invitation. The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of what appeared to be a command bridge. Standing there was a man who looked to be in his 40s, dressed in a uniform Alina didn't recognize. His eyes held the weight of centuries. "Greetings, children of Earth," the man said, his voice carrying both warmth and infinite sadness. "Am Admiral Chen Wu of the First Wave Colonial Fleet. We have been waiting a very long time for you to find us." Alina felt her world shift. The first wave had launched from Earth 800 years ago, carrying humanity's best and brightest, to establish colonies in distant systems. They had vanished without a trace, presumed lost to the dangers of deep space. "Admiral Wu," Alina managed. "This is Commander Alina Vasquez of the Earth colonial ship Meridian. We thought the first wave was lost." Admiral Wu smiled. "Sadly, lost. No, Commander. We've been hiding, preparing, waiting for the day when humanity would need us most." His expression grew grave. "That day has come." Alina felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean? Tell me, Commander. In your explorations, have you encountered any civilizations that simply vanished? Entire systems where all traces of intelligent life disappeared overnight?" Alina exchanged glances with her crew. They had indeed found such systems, dozens of them. Planets that showed clear signs of advanced civilizations, but were now completely empty. No bodies, no destruction, just silence. "We call them the Silence," Admiral Wu continued. "They're not like any enemy you can imagine. They don't conquer or enslave. They consume everything. Every thought, every memory, every trace that a species ever existed. They leave behind worlds that are perfectly preserved, but utterly empty." Dr. Park stepped forward. "How do you know about them?" "Because we'd been fighting them for 800 years, Wu replied. "The first wave didn't vanish, Commander. We encountered the Silence in our 3rd year of colonization. They destroyed 17 of our worlds before we understood what we were facing." The weight of his words settled over the bridge like a shroud. Alina tried to process what she was hearing. "But your fleet... how did you survive?" "We learned to hide, to become invisible not just to sensors, but to their perception itself. We developed technologies that could mask our presence from beings that exist partially outside normal space-time. And we waited, hoping that someday humanity would grow strong enough to stand with us." Alina looked at the vast armada surrounding them. "Stand with you against what?" Admiral Wu's image flickered as alarms began sounding on his bridge. "They're coming, Commander. Our long-range sensors detect a Silence fleet approaching the outer colonies. They've found humanity's new worlds, and they're moving to consume everything you've built." Elena's heart raced. "How long do we have?" 6 months. Maybe less. They move slowly, methodically, but they are unstoppable by conventional means." Wu paused, studying Elena's face. "Unless... unless what?" "Unless you're willing to take a leap of faith. My fleet has weapons and technologies that could tip the balance, but we've been in stasis for decades. Our crews are few, our knowledge vast but incomplete. We need your people's fresh perspectives, your innovations, your unwillingness to accept defeat." Alina looked around her bridge at faces filled with fear and determination. These were explorers, not warriors, but they were human, and humans had never learned to quit. "What are you proposing, Admiral? A merger? Your colony's fleets combined? With our ancient armada, your new thinking merged with our hard-won experience? Humanity united as it has never been before, to face an enemy that has never known defeat?" Alina thought of the billions of humans scattered across dozens of worlds, unaware that extinction was bearing down on them. She thought of children playing in colonial parks, scientists making discoveries that would never be shared, artists creating beauty that would never be seen again. "Admiral Wu," she said, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment, "how do we begin?" Wu smiled, and for the first time, Alina saw hope in his ancient eyes. "First, we wake up my people, 50,000 ships carrying the descendants of Earth's finest, preserved in cryosleep, waiting for this moment. Then, we teach each other everything we know. Your people will need to learn about weapons that bend space-time, while mine will need to understand the innovations you've developed." Alina nodded. "And then we do what humans do best, Commander. We fight for our survival, and we refuse to go quietly into that dark night." As Alina watched, the massive fleet began to stir. Running lights flickered to life on ships that had been dark for decades. Hangar bays opened to reveal smaller vessels ready for launch. The whispers they'd heard earlier resolved into the voices of crews awakening from their long sleep, checking systems and preparing for war. Alina opened a channel to Earth's command. "This is Commander Vasquez aboard the Meridian. Priority Alpha. Message for Earth Colonial Authority and all fleet commands. We have made contact with the first wave colonial fleet. They are alive. They are waiting, and humanity is about to face its greatest challenge." She paused, looking out at the armada that had hidden in the darkness for 8 centuries. "Prepare for war." When giants waked, the sight of 50,000 ships awakening from their ancient slumber was something Alina Vasquez would remember for the rest of her life. Across the vast expanse of space, vessels that had been dark and silent for decades began to pulse with energy. Docking bays opened like awakening eyes, and streams of smaller craft emerged to begin the delicate process of rousing a civilization from its protective sleep. Admiral Wu had been true to his word. Within 72 hours of their first contact, the first wave fleet was fully operational. But what impressed Alina most wasn't their technology or their numbers. It was their people. She stood in the main hangar of the dreadnought Perseverance, watching as representatives from both fleets mingled and shared information. Scientists from her era compared notes with engineers who had solved problems centuries ago. Young pilots from the colonies learned maneuvers from veterans who had fought battles in 3 different galaxies. "It's remarkable," said Dr. Park, approaching with a tablet full of new data. "Their medical technology alone could revolutionize human longevity. But Commander, some of their weapons systems..." He shook his head in amazement. "They've created devices that can fold space itself into a weapon." Alina nodded, still processing everything they'd learned. The first wave hadn't just survived their encounter with the silence. They'd thrived, developing technologies that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. But they'd paid a price. Entire generations had lived and died in hiding, never seeing sunlight, never walking on a planet's surface. Commander Vasquez called a voice behind her. Alina turned to see Captain Maria Santos, one of the awakened first wave officers. Santos had been in cryogenic sleep for 40 years, but her eyes held the sharp intelligence of someone who had seen too much. "Admiral Wu requests your presence in the strategy center. The outer colonies are reporting contact." Elena's blood ran cold. Contact. The silence has reached the Kepler system. 3 colonies, gone in the space of 6 hours. No distress calls, no signs of struggle, just ... silence. The strategy center aboard the Perseverance was unlike anything in Elena's experience. Holographic displays showed the entire galactic arm, with human colonies marked in blue and the advancing Silence front marked in ominous red. The enemy was moving faster than predicted. Admiral Wu stood at the center of the room, his weathered face grim. Around him, officers from both fleets worked frantically to coordinate defenses. The pattern is always the same, Wu explained as Alina joined him. They arrive in small scout groups first, invisible to most sensors. These scouts map the population centers, the defensive positions, the escape routes. Then comes the main force. Alina studied the tactical displays. How many ships? For a system like Kepler, perhaps a dozen. They don't need more. Each silence vessel is capable of processing an entire world's population in hours. Wu paused. But Commander, there's something else. Something we discovered during our centuries of observation. What? They're not just consuming people. They're consuming the very concept of those civilizations. Historical records disappear. Art crumbles to dust. Even memories of the vanished species fade from the minds of survivors. Wu's voice dropped to a whisper. They don't just kill, they erase. Alina felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's environmental systems. But you've fought them. You've survived. Barely, and only by becoming something they couldn't perceive. We hid so completely that we began to forget ourselves. Do you understand, Commander? We've been ghosts for 8 centuries, afraid to live because living meant dying. Alina looked around the strategy center at the awakened crews working alongside. Her people, but now, Wu smiled grimly. Now we have something we've never had before. Hope. Your colonies represent everything we'd given up. Growth, expansion, the audacity to claim new worlds. You've reminded us what it means to be human. A new alarm sounded, and Captain Santos called out from her station. Admiral, we're receiving reports from the Vega system. The colonial fleet is engaging unknown vessels. Alina moved to Santos's station, put it on the main display. The holographic image showed space near Vega Prime, humanity's largest colony outside the Sol system. A small fleet of colonial defense ships was fighting desperately against something. Alina could barely see. The enemy vessels appeared only as distortions in space, like heat mirages, but their weapons were devastatingly real. Colonial ships are taking heavy casualties, reported Santos. Their weapons aren't even scratching the enemy. Alina watched in horror as one of the defense ships simply vanished. Not destroyed, not exploded, just gone as if it had never existed. Admiral, she said urgently, we have to help them. Wu nodded. Captain Santos, prepare the 7th Fleet for immediate deployment. Full stealth protocols. We go in quiet, we hit hard, and we show these children what the first wave learned about. Fighting the impossible. Alina felt her heart race. I'm coming with you. Commander, this isn't your fight yet. With respect, Admiral, it became my fight the moment I found you. My people are dying out there. Wu studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Very well, but you'll need to learn fast. Fighting the silence isn't about firepower or tactics. It's about thinking in ways that don't make sense, about using weapons that shouldn't exist. Alina boarded the assault cruiser Defiance alongside Admiral Wu and Captain Santos. As they approached the Vega system, Wu explained the basics of fighting. An enemy that existed partially outside normal space-time. Conventional weapons pass right through them, he said, gesturing to a display showing various weapon types. But if you can fold space around your target, you can trap them in a dimensional pocket. If you can accelerate particles to near light speed, and then reverse their temporal flow, you can hit them before you fire. Alina shook her head. That's impossible physics. Exactly. The silence exists in impossible physics. To fight them, we had to learn to break the rules of reality itself. As they dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Vega Prime, Alina saw the battle was nearly over. Only 3 colonial ships remained, and they were badly damaged. The silence vessels had formed a perfect sphere around the planet, beginning their consumption process. All ships, this is Admiral Wu, engage stealth systems and prepare for dimensional warfare protocols. Remember, today we don't just fight for victory, we fight to prove that humanity cannot be erased. Alina watched in amazement as the first wave ships seemed to fade from existence. Not invisible, but genuinely not there. Then, space itself began to bend around the silence vessels. Reality twisted and folded as weapons that violated the fundamental laws of physics struck targets that shouldn't have been vulnerable. The battle lasted 17 minutes. When it was over, the silence fleet was gone, not destroyed, but banished to a dimensional space between spaces. The colonial survivors were safe, but Alina could see the psychological impact on both fleets. This is just the beginning, Wu said. Quietly, the main silence armada is still coming. Thousands of ships, carrying the accumulated knowledge of 100 consumed civilizations. Alina looked at the tactical displays showing the enemy's approach. They had perhaps 2 months before. The full force arrived at humanity's core worlds. Then we'd better get ready, she said. All human fleets, all colonies, everything we have. Wu nodded. Captain Santos, send the recall signal. Every first wave ship, every colonial vessel, every exploration craft. We gather at the Centauri. Nexus. Alina opened a channel to Earth Command. This is Commander Vasquez. Humanity is at war. The enemy is unlike anything we've ever faced, but we're not alone. The first wave has returned, and together we're going to do something that's never been done before. She paused, looking out at the stars that suddenly seemed less friendly. We're going to win. The next 2 months saw the greatest mobilization in human history. Every ship that could fly converged on the Centauri Nexus, a gravitational anomaly that provided natural defensive positions. Colonial craft worked alongside ancient dreadnoughts. Scientists shared impossible technologies, while engineers retrofitted weapons that bent the laws of physics. Alina found herself at the center of it all, serving as a bridge between humanity's past and present. She watched children from the colonies learn about dimensional warfare from veterans who had been fighting for centuries. She saw hope replace fear as humans did what they did best: adapt, innovate, and refuse to quit. When the Silence Armada finally arrived, it was met not by scattered, frightened colonies, but by a united human fleet 50,000 ships strong, armed with weapons that merged ancient wisdom with modern innovation. Crewed by people who had learned that extinction was not inevitable. The battle for humanity's future lasted 6 days. When it was over, the Silence had learned something new, that some species cannot be consumed, cannot be erased, cannot be silenced. Alina stood on the bridge of the Perseverance, looking out at the combined human fleet, ships from 2 different eras of humanity's expansion, united by their refusal to surrender. Admiral, she said to Wu, what happens now? Wu smiled, and Alina saw something she'd never seen in his eyes before: peace.